And so by the time you guys get to level 3 is when you should genuinely take a massive weight off your shoulders, because now I can guarantee you that you will succeed. So now that we're into 2025, I've now officially been in the AI world for 3 years. And today, guys, I want to be a little bit more blunt than I usually am, because this might be the most important video that you'll see this year if you're trying to build your own AI agency or your own AI SaaS, because there's this one skill that keeps showing its face that is separating the people that are winning in the AI world from the people that are losing. And in 2025, if your goal is to really scale your own agency or your own SaaS company, then this video is definitely for you. So first off, who am I? I ran a 6-figure gym back in 2023, but when I found out about the craziness that's going on in the AI world and the introduction of ChatGPT, I dropped everything. I went on to build a mid-6-figure AI agency in multiple niches, finally landing on the fitness niche because I previously ran a gym and I had a competitive advantage. And now, guys, I'm building my dream businesses by helping others achieve what we have by building their own AI agencies and their own software products. And we currently right now have 2 software companies that are scaling quite fast, and we're helping people in the No Code Academy do the exact same thing. But why am I telling you this, right? Like I said earlier, there's a pattern that I've been seeing with the most successful people in this industry. And it all ties back to this one skill. This skill basically locks anything that you came into this video with intentions of completing this year. It'll help you make your own automations. It'll help you make your own AI agents. And by the end of the year, you will probably be sitting on a pretty lucrative 6 to 7-figure business if you just dial in this one important skill. We want to now talk about the learning curve of AI, because if you don't know where you are in this learning curve, then you're not going to know what next steps to take. And by the time you get to level 4, guys, the entire world becomes your fucking oyster. And I'm not fucking kidding. And so sometimes I have to say it more blunt than I want to, because I want this to come across as properly as possible. And so for the rest of this video, your goal is to identify where you are in the learning curve and what next steps you need to take to eventually become a very successful entrepreneur in the AI world. And so first off, guys, let's talk about the beginner stage and what you got to do to actually move on. What you do need to know is the actual terminology that goes behind building automations, the terminology that goes behind no code. And you can do this by going through our modules in the Academy that lays out 4 different blueprints of different types of terminologies, from databases to make.com to no-code tools. Now, the next step is the actual tools that you're going to be using in your workflow, whether that's make.com, whether that's Airtable as a database, whether that's Replit as your no-coding agent. You just need to become aware of what these tools are and what they do, and subconsciously you're going to start figuring out how you're going to implement them. So really quick, guys, I want to show you a level 1 automation example. So this is a very simple automation, guys, that uploads videos on YouTube on your behalf. And there's a company called Hootsuite that charges $99 a month for this exact type of service. And so if you're able to already develop your own uploading automation, which we're giving to you in the Academy, then that's your first step in moving on to level 2. And so at level 2, I would officially consider yourselves a beginner automator. And this is where you can start getting into multi-step automations that do more than one task. And so we have an example that we're going to get into, but what this can look like is certain database integrations, use cases that work for general tasks that you can sell to multiple companies. The main thing that you're going to be learning here is that you're going to be getting through steps that were previously a roadblock. Now, this is where I want to stop the presentation, because what's really important is the fact that you're going to be able to go through these roadblocks, and every single time you go through these roadblocks, the next time that you run into that same roadblock, you're going to know how to solve it. And so you just have to continue to plow through these different learning curves, and as you start leveling up, the next time that you run into those issues, you're going to know how to solve it. And this is how you level up as fast as humanly possible, by building out progressively harder automations. And so in level 2, guys, let's open that baby up. And so in level 2, guys, we have a multi-step automation, and this would be step number 1, where we're scraping leads using this thing called Apify, and then we're uploading it to a database. Once that's in the database, then you'd send a whole nother set of functions. And so an example of what this automation can do, let's say I was selling my AI services to local restaurants. I would then use this automation to scrape all the local restaurants, add their email and their information in the database, and then the next automation from there would actually reach out to them with our email automation. And so you guys would then be combining automations together to create general tasks. And so once you can complete a level 2 automation that does something similar to that, you can move on to level 3. And so by the time you guys get to level 3 is when you should genuinely take a massive weight off your shoulders, because now I can guarantee you that you will succeed. The first parts of the learning curve are honestly what's hard, because there's not enough reward for the work that you're putting in short term. And so the skill we're actually talking about is resiliency. And so if you aren't resilient and you aren't willing to go through the first 2 levels, then you will never get to level 3 and level 4. And so the only way you get through this, no matter what your IQ is just being as resilient as humanly possible. That is the number 1 skill. And another way to think about this, right, is that there's multiple people, thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people that are running into that same error in this learning curve. And so if you take the initiative and if you actually are resilient enough to plow through that learning curve, you're going to get ahead of all of those people that are giving up. And so the more that you're willing to take on that pain, the more that you're willing to take on that risk of learning, the more capable you actually are going to be. And so what's insanely exciting is that by the time you're in level 3, you can actually launch your entire agency because you are now building personalized use case workflows. And so for my own business, I can show you guys a personalized workflow. So we're going to open up this level 3 automation. And in this automation, guys, we're basically downloading every single Zoom call that any of my sales reps have. And so instead of having someone that's like a sales rep manager, every single time a Zoom call gets finished, this entire flow happens where the video gets uploaded to Vimeo and the video gets transcribed and it gets broken down and analyzed by our AI agents. And so I can show you guys an example of what this looks like when it's finished, right? So we get a Google Docs of the actual video that gets uploaded. And then over here, we get a Google Docs of the summary that we actually spoke about in the call. And so that saves me like 30 to 40 minutes every single time I have a call. And that's just one example of a level 3 automation that is personalized for myself. And so before you move on to level 4, guys, you should already have your agency launched and you should be starting to reach out to clients because you're going to continue to go up the learning curve, but now you got to start doing the marketing as well. And even with all of this knowledge that you have, you still don't know what the market actually wants. And this is where you actually just put in the reps of finding out what the market actually needs. Now, guys, at level 4, you're basically an innovator. You could be a growth operator, you could be a full-time developer, or you could be all 3. Because what happens when you reach the end of the learning curve is you're able to, in real time, grab the newest updates and implement them into your projects. An example I can give you is like DeepSeek V3 that came out is an API that lowers your costs across the board. And since I'm able to understand how to use APIs and implement them into my automations, implementing DeepSeek V3 is like very, very easy. But if you're not at this end of the learning curve, then that's not even going to be something that you can entertain, right? And so when you're in this step of innovator, growth operator, developer level 4, you can then start consulting the entire world as your oyster in terms of clients, because you can make personalized automations and personalized workflows for literally anybody that's running their own business. And so an example I can give you is that when I was reaching out to venture capitalists, they were running their own businesses. They actually wanted my advice on how I would help their businesses. And just off of the knowledge that I've gotten from all the reps that I've been putting in through the levels, I was able to create a custom offer for them. And if you guys want to see that video of how I actually closed that deal, it'll be linked in the description below because we recorded that sales call. But I really hope this video helps because honestly, if you are resilient enough to get through all of these levels, you are guaranteed to make it.